You think I would learn to solve this before I went live? What was that? The battery. Ooh, crap. All right. Here we are. All right. But don't look at my power. There we go. Oh boy. Hello, anyone who's here already? Hello, Land Cloud Adventures. Yes, I'm here. And today, I actually got work done. So, geez, I just got cords hanging all over the place. I really just got so much stuff put away. Because when I moved out of the apartment in Louisville, I just like grabbed stuff and threw it in here. And then most of the time I was driving, I didn't get a chance to put it away. So I've really, really just started like putting things away and sort of having my little tiny house here back in order. I actually sent some important emails today. Princess Pamela, what's up? We need to connect because now I'm in the area. Because my job in Marin starts on May 9th. And the first rehearsal is I want to say it's like May 16th or something like that or something. So starting May 9th, I'll probably be shifting closer to Marin. Right now, I'm closer to the Oakland area. Barbara says, hello from Pahrump, Nevada. What's up? And then we got Eden, we got Audrey, we got 55 Star, we got Marie. That's my middle name. Hello to all of you. Thank you for all dropping in. Oh, okay, Princess Pamela, you say you're going to be getting into Mill Valley Lake tomorrow. Sarah, what's up? So happy to see you in the chat. So, guys, I am preparing to do a Hamlet. I'm pretty excited about it. It's not the full Hamlet script. He's done some editing to get it down to 106 pages, which makes me happy because Shakespeare can be long. Shakespeare can be really, really long. And I don't hate Shakespeare. I actually like Shakespeare when it's done well with the right actors. But Shakespeare can be really, really long. And after you do a show every night over and over again, that really, really long starts to catch up with Confederates was like a one and done. It was like a how long was that show? I think it was like an hour and 45 minutes. But it was an hour and 45 minutes straight through, no intermission. So you did the show, and the show moved fast. It did not feel like an hour and 45 minutes. And then it was over. Like, once you actually have it staged, it takes forever to stage the damn thing. And then I did Party People. Party People was like, I think each act was almost about 90 minutes. Again, that show moved fast, but it was always coming back from intermission. If it was late, you're like, I just want to do the second act and go home. Or if we had two doubles where we had like a super early student matinee, and the students were great. I love student matinees. And then we had an evening show. But see, the problem is that once you've done that super early student matinee, you're like, great, I did the show, that was great. Oh crap, I need to come back here in like an hour and a half and do all this again. And then you're like, you're like, I love this show, but I'm just not in the mood to do it twice today. And that's the point where it becomes work. But I still know that I'm blessed to be able to do this work. I mean, I could be working in a factory. I could have like a boring job that I really, really hate. I could have, some sort of really backbreaking work, and I get to work on these shows. So when I do get those moments of frustration, I'm like, Dawn, you're lucky. You're getting to do this job and not some other job. And that's something you really want to do. So that was just me running my mouth because I don't even know where that subject came up from. Also because like people were logging in. I actually don't have a hat on today. I probably need to like get my haircut freshened up. I don't know what people think of my hair. I am gonna eventually relock my hair, but I'm letting it grow out some before I do that. I've also found gray hairs. Like at first I thought I had something in my hair. I thought it was lint, and I kept trying to pull on it, and I'm like, oh no, I have gray hair. I'm getting old. It's happening. The old is coming. um, Kathy Livingston, I'm in the chat now, guys. Kathy Livingston says, hey, it's Kat from Hayward. Welcome back. Thank you, Kathy. Terry Newell says, hey, Dawn. Mixtape 40 says, midnight gab fest. Midnight. Is it midnight for you? It's like 9 o'clock for me, which is late. I meant to go live at like 8 o'clock at the latest. I thought maybe 6, but then I got busy doing stuff. Sarah, who is also an ex-stage manager, says, I love a show without an intermission, LOL. I do too. I like a one and done. Like when they found out like Confederates was like an hour 45, no intermission, like everybody freaked out. They were like, you can't go more than like 60 minutes without an intermission. We're like, there's no intermission, but there's no natural break point, and I loved it. You went in, you did the show was over, it was great, you went home. No intermission. I'm not a fan. Well, obviously, if it's a really long show, you need one, but like backstage, intermission is like, yeah, you come off the stage, but then like you have to get all the actors back in place before the the end of intermission, so you have to count down for them. So you're not really relaxed, especially if you're like the stage manager who's backstage, the assistant stage manager usually, because then it's like you still have to be watching your clock to know exactly what time intermission started. You need to be letting the actors know, hey, back from intermission in 10, back from intermission in 5, back from intermission in 2. And so you're keeping time. You're not just chilling for those 15 minutes. And then you have your assumed time. I'm going on about my job now, guys. You have your assumed time that intermission is going to end. So you're working towards that with the actors. And then, like, front of house, who's like, with the people, the audience in the front are like, oh, people are still getting drinks. We still have 2 people in the bathroom. Somebody's kid spit up. No, I'm just making stuff up, but this is stuff that actually happened. And so you're ready to go. Everybody's in place, but now you're waiting on front of house to, like, actually get everybody back into the theater and turn the house over to you. So I consider shows of intermission like way more stressful than shows without them, because you just go ahead and do the show. And hopefully nothing happens where you have to stop. Because you do stop if something dangerous might happen most of the time. All of the time, not most of the time. People's lives are in danger. Princess Pamela says, I can't deal with it says Shakespeare's language. Here's the thing, with a good actor, like, if I just have to read Shakespeare on paper, it's boring as hell. But with a good actor, a Shakespeare show can live. Because Shakespeare is treated as this, like, elite thing. And, like, Shakespeare's full of dirty jokes and all kinds of other, like, weird stuff. So if you get the right cast that can sort of activate the language, it kind of starts to get rid of that language barrier. To the point that you don't really have to catch every word. You're going to get a lot of the context from how they deliver it and also how the scene is staged. And it'll give you a lot of, because I've been shocked, how much I get it based on those conditions. But like when I was a kid and like, not a kid, well, teenager, whatever, in school, and they just want you to read it like literature. To me, that is the worst way to experience Shakespeare, is to just have to read it like literature. Now, somebody has to, but it was never for me. But anyway, moving on. Leslie Hughes says, hey, Dawn, I hope all is well with you. I also hope it's great in your little part of the world. Kiwi wishes being sent to you from NZ. Thank you so much. I probably read that way too fast. And I love that there's people like it shocks me that there are people like all over the world like watching my lame little channel, especially these days. Princess Pamela says I have so much gray hair. I was just shocked because I was like pulling on. I guess you can't even really. I can't even find it. You can kind of see. It looks like there's lint in my hair. No, I'm getting gray hairs. That light is not lint in my hair. I'm like, oh no. Oh no, it's happening. Oh shoot. Hang on. Oh no, my chat is being stupid. Give me a second. Super Kim, the Kentucky fan, says hello, friend. Thumbs up. And Princess Pan. No, I already read that. And Spider Mama says, I'm glad I am catching alive. Sarah says your channel is not lame. Sarah also said Confederates felt like 30 minutes. Honestly, such a good show. Yes, I wish you. I know you got to see the one in OSF. I wish you had gotten to see the one in St. Louis, because it was really interesting with a whole new cast. Seeing how many choices they made that were the same, because they were allowed to. We just started over since it was a totally new cast, so we didn't confine them to what the other cast did. And it was interesting how many times it was almost the same scene with the slight difference. Oh my gosh, I love Confederates. Like, I liked Party People. I loved Confederates. Confederates was such a good show. I'm so happy I got to do it twice with like two amazing cats. Audrey Thomas also said your channel is definitely not lame. Thank you very much. Marie asked me, do I have pet insurance? No. Because what I've heard from people is it's ultimately a scam. A lot of times when like your animal actually gets sick, it's like really hard to get, pet insurance to cover it or reimburse you. And I just have not heard anything like that made me feel like it's going to make my life any easier to have pet insurance. When I got Felix, hang on a second. So I usually try to do a yearly exam for both of the cats. They mostly are indoors. Like Mickey, like will go out with me on a harness, so they're not really like interacting with other animals a whole lot. To the point where I'm worried about that too much. And so like I try to get them a yearly exam, and I just pay out of pocket. Like I just save up to pay out of pocket for them. I get their flea meds. Now I just do the over the counter stuff because I found when I went out of state it was too hard dealing with, transferring stuff to another state. So I've just gone to an over the counter sort of applicator. And yeah, like when I got Felix, he got neutered and microchipped, and I found a place that does that relatively affordably. They do both, like people affordable things for people and affordable things for people who bring in strays, people who do rescue work. And so like I paid out of pocket. Just every time I've had to, like I've just paid out of pocket. So I don't really see what advantage pet insurance would give me. Like I said, at this point, they've never needed anything besides a yearly exam. Well, Mickey Felix actually just turned a year old. Well, I'm assuming his year old. I know he was around 6 weeks old when I got him, so I guesstimated his birthday 6 weeks before I got him. So he's just hit a year, which is funny because he's a big cat. Well, he's a chunky cat. Mickey height wise, like if I grab them, is actually still taller. Like even when they're walking around, you can tell Mickey's a little bit taller. But Felix is just like he's fluff and chunk. I love it. I actually find it so funny. So he just turned a year-ish old. So in about like 6 to 8 weeks, he'll need a yearly exam, and I'll probably just take them both at the same time. Just to like a health checkup. So Mickey's about 3, Felix is about 1. I don't know either of their exact birthdays, so they both have guesstimated birthdays. Based on when I got them and like the amount of weeks old they were before then. And so yeah, at this point I've just paid out of pocket, as opposed to getting any sort of health or pet insurance. Average. I'm drinking V8, by the way, if anybody's wondering. All right, let's grab the phone. Terry Newell says, Dawn, stop. I started getting gray in high school. And I know people who got gray hairs earlier than me. I'm just being silly. I'm not even against, I'm a person, I don't lie about my age. I don't get upset if people ask me my age. I usually tell the truth, like, whenever. Um, it was just a shock, It's not always that shocking moment where you, like, find it. And it's like you react to it just because it hasn't been there, and so it's a change. I mean, it's like when guys start balding. Like, some people, balding is relatively common among men, and some people, like, because it's in their family, they'll start balding at 27, and then other people won't start balding until they're in like their 40s or 50s. So it's just one of those things. It's a marker of life passing, and there's a moment of like, oh my gosh, this thing happened. What does that mean? And all of that. Grandma Kelly says, good to see you, Dawn. I'm excited that I caught your live chat. You look great, and your laugh is contagious. As I am sitting outside by myself, giggling away. Thank you. Sarah says, happy birthday to Felix. Oh, Pamela says, can we see them? Well, Mickey's on the floor. Let's see if we can capture him. He was on the bed. Now he's like, oh, crap. There you are. Hey, Mickey. Hey. How you doing, buddy? You want to say hi to you? Oh, there's Felix. There's a big chunky boy. So this cat tree, it broke. This is where there used to be a little top circular thing, and Felix jumped on it from the bed. He jumped from the bed down on the little thing right here and broke it off. So I'm probably gonna replace this with some, but it's still, they'll just sleep on that now. I thought it was so funny. I just heard it crack and it freaked him out. So he jumped from whoa, crap. There's the phone, sorry. So he was up on the bed and he just I got up. I was sitting up so that I could get up in the morning, and he jumped down and landed on the little circle part on the top, and I just heard it crack with his weight, and then he freaked out. He was fine, and he jumped halfway across the box truck. He was like, he didn't understand what happened. It was like he was supposed to land on the little top circular thing. So yeah, they needed a cat tree, but I also need to find some place, a dumpster where I can get rid of this one before I put a new one in here. And they're still using the bottom part of it, so I don't. That'll be fine. But I just thought it was funny that he jumped off the top bed and broke the thing. That's the best part about having them. They'll just do random stuff, and it's like you want to react, but all you can react is like burst of laughter because just did something silly. I love them. They're the best. I was a little nervous when I got Felix because I was like, Dawn, are you stupid? Like, having the second cat, because I knew I could handle the one. Me and Mickey had been on the road, and it's one little animal. I was sure I could handle it, and I was iffy about getting a second one, but I have no regrets. I love that little butterball. He is the best. I love little Felix. I mean, I really want a puppy as well, but I definitely don't have a third animal. I am at my limit. Unless I get a house in the near future, I am at my limit. I'm totally okay with that. And I have friends with dogs. So when I really want to spend time with a dog, I'll go find a friend with a dog. me see. Sarah says I pay out of pocket for my cat's care too. Yeah, I mean, like, unfortunately, there's always a chance that like your pet could get something like really, really pricey and serious. There goes Mickey. He's going to his water thing. Yeah, you see his little water fountain right there. But like, just based on pet insurance with other people, it's just never been worth it to just pay out of pocket and get it over with. It's part of the expense of having the animal. Yeah. Grandma Kelly says, my vet said there are only a couple of plans that may help me save a little money, but better to set aside what your plan would have cost you that month. Yep, that's exactly what I've heard too. Like, it's better to just like budget for the vet than like try to use any of these pet plans, because a lot of them are like, a lot of them are full of crap. And they'll even try to sell you stuff based on the plan. They're like, well, you're signed up for the plan. And you know, with the plan, you can do X, Y, Z. I mean, you don't have to. But if you really, I hate when they pull that, when they're like, you know, if you really care about your animal, you know, these things are an advantage that you can take care of, you know, take advantage of. And it's just like, it's such BS half the time. Sarah says, how did Felix get so big? He was teeny a second ago, I swear. Felix got big because he kept eating Mickey's food. That's how I feel about it. Like, I felt like, and I gave up. I kept trying to separate their food so, like, Felix would go and eat all of it. Here's the thing. Mickey has never been a big eater. He's never been a big eater. He's a grazer. You know, he isn't highly food motivated. He'll like nibble on something and then like come back like 30 minutes later and maybe eat some more of it. But see, when Felix isn't as bad now, but originally he was like, oh, you're not going to finish this? I will finish it for you. Oh, you didn't want all of this food in this bowl that you were eating out of? Now that I'm finished my bowl, I'll eat your bowl. I think that's how Felix just like blew up. Because he was like very like, if you're not gonna finish, I'll finish it for you. Um Kathy Livingston says racehorses all turn a year older and celebrate their birthdays on January 1st. Guess it's okay if you're the right year for Mickey 3 and Felix 1. Yeah, I just guesstimate. I'm like, they don't know what a birthday is, and I treat them like, you know, little kitty princes every freaking day. So it's not like, as long as I have a vague idea how old they are, I think it's fine. um, Julianne says, Dawn, how old are you? I'm 43. Yeah, I'll be 44 on my birthday this year. Kathy says, I started out van life with 2 kitties. It was the best. They really do entertain each other though, because sometimes if I'm tired, like, I'll just hear all this noise and it's just them chasing each other around. And I'm like, I'm not even upset. I'm like, great, you guys are entertaining each other. I'm good. Speaking of which, I got this back scratcher when I was in Kentucky, you know? And this has become Mickey's favorite toy. You buy actual cat toys and they don't use them. But Mickey loves this stupid back scratcher. Like, this is his favorite toy right now. So every day, like, I play with this with him because, like, that's what he likes now instead of the actual cat toys. Like, most of the cat toys, even some he used to play with, he doesn't play with anymore. I can get Felix to play with a string. But I learned my lesson after Mickey. I was like, oh, don't buy a whole bunch of cat toys because they're not going to pay attention to most of them. Feather on the Stick was always a good, that one's always a win. I finally got a laser pointer. Felix loves a laser pointer. Mickey likes it sometimes. But most of the time, you give Felix a piece of string, and he's the happiest little kitty in the world. And I learned my lesson after Mickey not to go down the cat toy aisle and buy a bunch of stuff I find cute, because most of it he will never pay any attention to. Whereas if I just give him a string, I'm giving him the best thing ever. So I learned it's like second child syndrome. You know how the first child you go overboard, and the second child you're like, you all right. That happens with pets too. I learned my lesson. Craig Browning says, have you ever been in contact with Gina Payne? Not directly. She has various cats. One of them passed away recently. Oh no! Miss VG3 says, hey, I made a live. Sometimes insomnia pays off. Well, I'm glad you made it, Miss VG3. Ty Rodriguez says, the crazy thing about any insurance is it rarely ever covers all costs. That is true. The bad thing about insurance, and this has been true for years, is when you really need it, and it's health insurance, it's car insurance, it's house insurance. Like, it'll cover stuff, but half the time you gotta fight for that. You pay on it loyally for years and years, and then something happens where you need that darn insurance, and they're like, well, let me check. And I was like, you weren't checking when I was giving you checks every freaking month. And now that I actually need it, you're like, let's see if that's covered. Well, according to your plan, and it's like, you've been taking money from me for years. Just taking money. Now that I need it, you trying to check all these little dotted lines and T's crossing, and it's annoying. That being said, human health insurance is useful because it does cost a lot of money for a human just to walk into a doctor's office or even get in an ambulance, even if you need it. Like, the cost for that kind of stuff is so astronomical that some type of health insurance can help in those situations. So I'm working on my weeks so that I can have health insurance through the union, but I'm not there yet. But that's why I've been trying to keep these jobs going. I'll also be able to sign up for a 401k after a certain point. Not there yet, but we're working on it. Oh, Julie says, I asked how are you, not how old are you, but thanks for letting us know. I'm good, you know. I'm good. Where is it? Leslie says, obviously there's no hope of Mickey grazing with Felix around. There's not. I'm like, Mickey, if you leave that food, you know it ain't gonna be there when you Felix isn't as bad, but he's definitely the one. As soon as if he hears me open, so that drawer right there, that one right there, that has their cat food in it. When I open that drawer, Felix is there. You know, he's there. He's checking to see what I'm doing. He's like, "Oh, you're about to put." And sometimes I'm just putting stuff away because I put their bowls in there too after I wash them. And he's like, "You open the drawer. Are you putting out food? Are you putting out?" So he's gonna eat some. So yeah, like it used to be like I could put a little bowl of food out in the morning, and Mickey would just come back to it like all day. That doesn't happen anymore. I have started portioning smaller just because I don't want him to get like too overweight. But yeah, I'm like, Mickey, if you don't eat right now, it ain't gonna be there in like 20 minutes. Just letting you know. He doesn't listen to me all the time, but you know, he's not starving either. He just definitely ain't getting as big a portion as he used to. Suki Scrapping Fox says, hello, how's the truck doing? The truck seems to be doing okay. I mean, we drove across the country with, besides it being big and slow, no issues right now. Crossing fingers. I do probably need to start saving up for tires. I'm going to try to get an oil change in the near future. I'm waiting for this next job to start. But there's nothing major where I'm like worried about it or anything at the current time. My lithium batteries are doing great. Um, as most people should know, I have like 400 amp hours of lithium now. I did install it and didn't get to really do a video about the install because I needed to get it installed and get out of Oregon at that point. Um, but it's been great having like that much power. Like half the time, I'm not even worried about it. Um, the batteries are definitely better than the power station, and I think that's just because it's just batteries in general are better. It's not about like one station being better than the other power station and all that jazz. There's things you can control in a system that you build yourself that you can't control with a power station because everything has already been constructed. So you're just working with what's there. And I think the biggest thing is that it charges better than through like the charge controller, better than it did when I was trying to like make these roof panels work with my Jackery and all that other stuff. I think it's just like a more inefficient system because like they want you to use their proprietary panels and the way they design them. And with the amount of power I was using living in here full time, it was just more of a pain than the batteries have been. The batteries have been great. Like that was a great investment I made before I left OSF last year. They've been so good. I've been so happy with them. There are times like if I have an overcast day, I do want to keep more of an eye on it. But I don't know the last time. Like today, right now I'm at 12.9 volts. It's been so long since I was anywhere near that. Like half of the time during the day, I'm maintaining like 13 or 13.1 volts most of the time. So yeah, I've been really happy with those. So as far as like the house part of the truck, there's some things that are kind of I didn't install it well. There's some small fixes I've made along the way, but nothing major. Not the battery system. The battery system is great. The batteries are doing great, and the truck itself seems to be fine. You know, as fine as an old truck is going to be. Nothing major has been a issue in recent history. So, cross fingers. It's an old truck. Anything can happen tomorrow. Hopefully, nothing happens tomorrow, but cross fingers. um, oh no! Princess Pamela says I had my catalytic stolen and they covered it, but I've paid insurance for years. Sigh. I can't believe the catalytic thing is like still happening. I guess there's no reason for it not to happen, but I know how much that sucks. And the bad thing, at one point, it wasn't even about if it was covered or money or anything. Like, so many catalytic converters were getting stolen. Getting replacements for them was like, sometimes they didn't have it. Like, I know people who like, told me they had to wait just because there was no way for them to get a replacement. It wasn't even about them having the money or anything. So, like, the whole catalytic situation, like, sucks. Uh, Ty says, I was paying $500 for insurance and found out I had $1,000 deductible for something that only cost $2,000. I could have cried. Insurance is terrible sometimes. Um, Ty Rodriguez says 401k is a scam. Just save your own money. Fair. Scott Argyle says, I know Matt with a cat and a dog, kitty and a pity. Kitty and a pity. There was like a Instagram rule. I think they had like two kitties and a pitty, and so they always put up pictures of their two cats and their pit bull. I love pit bulls. So cute. They're like the cutest dogs ever. I don't care what anybody says. Of course, you could just show me another dog, and I'd be like, "That's the cutest dog ever." I think dog. I love dogs. I feel like I'm a dog person who is claimed by cats, but I love cats as well. I love them for their own unique reasons. I can't really choose. Um, Mary Lacefield says, hi, Dawn. I found you online by accident tonight. I always enjoy your live chats. Thank you for showing up. Britt says, hi, Mickey, Felix, and Dawn. Our kitten Rodney turns 1 year soon. 14 pounds and long legs. We had to cut his rations too. You know, I was just talking about it. Look at it. Look at it. I saw you, Felix, trying to finish off the food. Why are you running? You embarrassed? See, there's a little bit of food left in there. And of course, he's trying to come clean it out. He was like, I wasn't doing nothing. Why you turn the camera on? Sarah says, what's it like transitioning back and forth from box truck to employee housing? Does it take time to learn box truck life again? Yes. So, like, you do get used to it. Like, if you move back in a regular house and, like, it starts to feel like your apartment, you get used to it. You get used to, like, you know, like the oven situation. Like, I have the little camping oven in here, but it's a very finicky thing. Like, turning it on, you can't just set it to a temperature and it goes to that temperature. So a lot of times I would get in the habit of, like, making certain foods based around that. And it's like, I can do it in here, but it is different. You know, there's water, not having to worry about it. You turn on the faucet, water runs out of it. I mean, there's all kinds of little things where you kind of get used to, quote unquote, living normal. And then you get back in the box truck and you're like, oh yeah, things are a little bit different now. Excuse me. I got a little bit sick for about 3 days when I was coming back into California. Like, I was taking, like, cold medicine every night. I was, like, hacking up colds. So I'm still on the tail end of getting rid. It was just a cold. But I was, like, hacking up cold. I was coughing really bad. So if I go slightly off camera, it's because I don't want to be rude and be blowing my nose in front of you guys. But going back to the transition, it is tricky. And then when, like, I moved back in here, you know, I didn't really have time to do it carefully. I mean, I could have if I'd broken it out over several days, but it just didn't happen because I was caught up with the show. And so I just had, like, boxes and bags. Like, I put all my clothes in a bag, and I just put the bag in here. And I didn't put the clothes away. And then I also, like, I packed up the kitchen. The stuff that needed to go in the refrigerator, I put in the refrigerator right away. But a lot of my cabinet food, I just had in a bag that was just kind of sitting on the floor. And so it was really disorganized in here for a bit. And so, like, it took me a couple of days to kind of even remember how I had some stuff put away. And then there was just the daily living thing. And then I didn't come back into the box truck and, you know, start just living out of it. It was like I had to get on the road and I was trying to get somewhere in a certain time period. And between St. Louis and Louisville, I didn't really unpack. I just kind of got everything into the box truck. I had a couple of days where I was kind of in here, but then I was back into a different apartment. And then I got settled in there while I was doing Party People. And so there is this weird moment of, like, remembering how sort of life works, but it clicks back pretty fast. And now that I'm, like, back in sort of an area I know and can stay still, I really had the time to sort of, like, get back into the flow of what it's like to live it here as opposed to, quote unquote, a normal apartment. So yeah, it can be a little bit weird. It's a little bit, I don't even know what's the right word. The word, I can't think of the word. It's in my head, but I can't verbalize it. So, like, there is a moment, there's a time of readjustment, going between the two. And it can be for good and for bad. Like, I hated being on the 15th floor. I was on the 15th floor when I was in Louisville of a, like, tall high-rise apartment. I hated that crap. The walls were thin. But other things I loved about the apartment, I thought the layout of the Louisville apartment was actually pretty nice. It was like a studio layout, not much more space than I needed. The kitchen in Louisville was better than the one in St. Louis. but I like the building in St. Louis better than the one in Louisville. What's kind of fun about sort of experience different types of employee housing, and right now, just to say it, I'm working as a local. So for this show, technically they're hiring me as a person who has their own local housing. Doesn't matter. I don't have to explain. I don't need to say my local housing is my vehicle. But they only hire locally. So right now I'm local. So I'll be living out of the box truck for this show. But the cool thing about sort of getting, if I ever do down the line decide to move back into any sort of normal housing, the cool thing about sort of being in all the employee housing is really getting to like just experiment in an apartment for a few months, or any sort of housing layout, and ask yourself what you like and don't like about it, and it gives you a real parameter for if you want to look in the future for quote unquote standard housing. Like, what would be ideal for you? What kind of space works for you? What do you really use in a kitchen? Like, what things are annoying? What things are kind of cool? And so that's sort of been like what's cool about, like, what I love about Ashland is being in a walkable neighborhood. And so, like, I think if I ever settle down to standard housing in the future, I would love to be in a walkable neighborhood where, like, I know I can get to most of the things I need in a week without ever having to drive to get there. Like, I really love that about Ashland. There's options for grocery stores when I was walking to my gym every day. And there were so many places to go, including that beautiful Lithia Park, where you didn't have to get in a vehicle to go there. You could just walk there. And I love the idea of a walkable sort of neighborhood setting like that. It's something I really, really like about Ashland. Whereas I hated being in downtown Louisville. Like, I like the show. I like the people. I even like the theater. But I just did not like that downtown environment. And I never really had time to get out of that downtown Louisville environment. So it's like I know I would never want to live in a downtown, even if it had all the walkable things. Whereas like Ashland is more of like this town, where it's not like high rises and just buildings and things like that. And there was so much stuff you couldn't find. I would think in downtown Louisville, I would have been able to find like a grocery store without getting the truck out. And I had to every weekend. I went and got my truck from the garage and went and did a grocery run. So it was amazing to me, and this might just be post-pandemic situation, how much stuff there, unless I wanted to go buy like food at a restaurant every day, there wasn't a lot that you could. There was one little dinky CVS where like the toilet paper was like overpriced and such, and if you were really desperate, you could pay like $10 for a little bottle of like dish soap. I'm overpricing it, but you know what I'm talking about. There was one little dinky CVS, and there were like a lot of like restaurant type places, but it wasn't like I could go to a grocery store. And that I didn't love so much about being in downtown Louisville. St. Louis, I was like on, I'm just running my mouth now, guys. St. Louis, I was on like a college campus. And it was the apartments they have for their employee housing are just those 2-level apartments. So you have a first floor and a second floor. I didn't like being on the second floor. And I generally don't like apartment buildings because I just don't like the idea of being like a cube in a building of cubes. But I didn't mind that 2-layer setup because it's only 2 layers. I personally would have preferred being on the first floor instead of the second floor, which is where they had me. But it feels a little more neighborhood-like than those really big high rises where there's like 1,000 people in them. I don't know how many units were in that building. It was like 17 stories tall. And I didn't like that as much. That apartment building didn't belong to the theater. Where they put me was kind of like an Airbnb type apartment because I had pets. So I couldn't go into their employee housing where they had the actors because they don't allow pets in there. I don't know why I went in them apartments. Even some of the actors was like, there's no reason your cats couldn't have been in here. But that's beyond the point. They don't allow cats in there. So they put me in an apartment building that kind of has these Airbnb units. And it was like 17 stories tall. And it's just not my vibe. I don't like being on the 15th floor of a 17-story building in the middle of a downtown area with all the like with nothing really to do unless you want to like go to a liquor store or go to a restaurant. wasn't my vibe at all. As much as I love the show and the people. So the cool thing has been sort of getting to live in different types of situations and really think about what you like and don't like about those situations. And I never thought of myself as looking for what I might want at some point, as a settle down point, but I find myself thinking about that a lot. That was a weird break off from Sarah's question, but thank you for that question. God, I could be talking about something. Uh, I should probably turn this heater off. It's actually pretty warm in here at this point. Um, Kathy Livingston says, shout out for my local theater production that's been shuttered since COVID. Yeah, a lot of people just didn't come back from COVID. A theater I worked with in Baltimore, it was actually the first theater that like paid me to do theater work, and it wasn't that much outside of college. Like they recently shut down and they made it through COVID. They did a couple of outdoor shows. And I thought they were going to make it, but they recently just like shut down, which made me really sad because that was like the first like non-college small theater company I'd ever worked with, and like I consider those people, a lot of those people, like my family. Um, and they really, I learned so much working with them. It was a great start. It was a great vibe. So it's sad to me that like they don't exist anymore. And you know, they inched their way through COVID, and then it was just they couldn't keep going. Um, so yeah, sucks. Miss V, the visionary, says, "Hey Dawn, I love your content. Thank you so much." Uh, Sarah also says you're definitely. Oh my God, same deaf a dog person that was claimed by cats. I mean, cats know that. They see dogs. We go too. Cats tell us that we're going to adopt them. They just go, "Hey, you're adopting me. You agree? Great. We're going to do that." Julianne says, "Have you crossed paths with Bunny and Riley lately?" I have not seen either of them since before Christmas, really. So Vanmas, I was around, and that's like the last time I saw them. And then I've just been crazy busy, you know. Um, Terry Newell says, "Tell us about your heater." This is a vent-free, whoops, propane heater. It's basically, this one is supposed to be an ice house heater. Um, it's great. It runs on propane. I have a propane line that runs to the heater and my oven stove combo over there. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. It's a vent-free heater for small spaces. Ugh, ugh. And I'm gonna turn it off because it's actually getting pretty warm in here. It's just a little bit chilly, and I was trying to get rid of the chill. Ugh. By the way, I thought this shirt was really funny, which is why I got it. It has all the versions of there squished together, and then it says, "Take that, grammar police." I just thought that was hilarious because people are always criticizing which there people use, and I'm like, yes, sometimes you just gotta say, let it go. This isn't this isn't an English exam. You can mess up a letter. Um, Shiny Nickel Blade says, "When did you get that haircut?" I cut off my hair while I was in St. Louis. I mean, this has pretty much always been my haircut. I just had the locks, and the locks had grown over, so usually I had them hanging down. But I've basically been doing like shave everything off but the top forever. Um, but I got rid of the locks while I was in St. Louis because they were in bad shape. I needed to start fresh, so I did. Vanessa's van life journey says, "I'm considering doing a build in the box truck. I'd like to know if you have any regrets. What advice would you give for a box truck build?" One, I would recommend diesel. Especially if you're going to be going uphill a lot. I have a gas truck. Um, Let me see, what else? I mean, I think, like, thanks a lot, Mickey. Just walk over my shoulder, will you? Okay, now he's checking. Okay. Hey, Mickey, I think Felix kind of cleaned out the bowl. You're a little late. I guess there's some kibble in there. Anyway, box trucks. I mean, I think you have to do your due diligence just like you do with any vehicle. Like, research whatever you're buying. Like, there's different kinds of, like, engines and stuff out there. I only say, like, this thing crawls going uphill sometimes. It's a very, oops, let me plug it in because it's very, it's a heavy vehicle. It's big. Blind spots. Blind spots was something I did not expect. Well, I did, but I didn't realize how disorienting it was going to be. You can't see out the back, and because the boxes out from the cab, like, most of my concerns are really, or that I tell people to think about, is driving it. Most of them are gas guzzlers. So if you want to, like, go somewhere and be still for a long time, great. You have all the space. You could, it has straight walls. It's easy to build in because of the straight walls. You can even buy, like, that cabinet I bought. I just bought the cabinet and, like, attached it to the wall. So as long as you have a good stable place to attach a cabinet, you can buy a lot of over-the-counter stuff and just put it in a box truck. And your old vans, even if they look pretty square, usually aren't. And so it's Felix. These cats are just active. This is usually on lives. I have to find them. Most box trucks have straight walls. You obviously have great space to build it, but what a lot of people don't think about is driving it. So if you want to go to a campground and you want to stay settled for a while and you just want to chill, a box truck can be great for that, because then you have a nice, comfortable house to live in. But if you want to, like, be one place on Wednesday and another place on Thursday and a third place on Friday, you really need to think about how much vehicle you're moving. And that's not just box trucks. That's box trucks, that's buses. And people do the move everyday thing with those type of vehicles too, or move frequently with those kind of vehicles too. And I don't consider, like, right now I'm in the city. I'm still in my day spot, even though technically the sun has gone down. But before I go to sleep tonight, I'm going to move to another spot. That's going to take me like 10, 15 minutes top to go to the spot where I'm going to park to go to sleep tonight. I don't consider that a big move. But if, like, you want to be in, like, one state, one, day to, like, see things or take in the sights, and then by tomorrow be somewhere else that's a significant distance away, just know moving a larger vehicle, that's going to come into play. 2, mechanics. Mechanics are tricky because places that take care of big trucks consider this truck small. Like, and by big trucks, I mean, like, semis and, like, really big rigs. They think this thing is a baby compared to the type of rigs they work on. On the flip side, regular mechanics can be really iffy about it. Now, technically, the front of this is just a Ford E350 van. Identical under the hood. But if the lift can't lift it, there's certain places, like, if it doesn't fit in my bay, I can't work on it. So there are mechanics I can't go to because they simply refuse to work on anything that can't fit in the bay. Even though what I need may only involve, like, popping the hood, a lot of times it's just a no. Like, as soon as they see what it is, it's a no. So sometimes it's tricky finding the right mechanics, and a lot of it has to do with the area. If the area is used to having RVs and sort of mid-size vehicles, you might find a lot of mechanics where it's not a big deal. Right now, like, I'm in Berkeley. It sucks finding a mechanic while I'm in Berkeley. I have no problem finding a mechanic when I'm in Oregon. So your ability to get it taken care of by a mechanic, if you aren't the type of person who can work on your vehicle, is going to vary from state to state. Licensing this thing was a pain in the butt. Like, I was required to license this as a commercial vehicle under my name until I got the RV quote-unquote conversion. And even still, in California, it was a pain in the butt. In Oregon, it was a little bit easier, and I now have motorhome tags. But because I have motorhome tags, that doesn't mean the insurance company cares. So then you have two choices for insurance. Either you actually find somebody who will insure it as a motorhome based on like you sending the photos or meeting something that they will accept as a motorhome, or you just give up on that and you can maybe license it or I'm sorry, insure it as a commercial vehicle for personal use, which is the other option that a lot of people go to. And I've talked to a lot of people with buses, and most of them that I've talked to were not able to get it insured as a motorhome. And I know people all over YouTube is saying otherwise, but I'm talking about people I've talked to who are not on YouTube, who don't have like super pro bills. They were able to get it registered with the state as a motorhome because they have their requirements, but insurance would not accept it as a motorhome. And so what they had to do is get commercial insurance for personal use or find some other way around insurance. So those are kind of the negatives of it. The positives are obvious. Like I said, the size is great. The fact that you have square walls is great. It's really easy to build in, I think, compared to a van in a lot of ways because of that. But there's all these other things. The insurance thing surprised me. I thought once I got it registered as a motorhome, that insurance would just go with that, and that's not true. Each insurance provider can make their own decision, and they may make a decision based on what state you live in. So that part was kind of a pain in the butt. I've even said, I don't know. I love this. I would love to do another box truck as a project, but there's a part of me that would rather just get an RV because I know I would be able to insure it as an RV in the future. And then there's another part of me is like, but I would love to build my own and have it be my own way. And there are other reasons to build or not to build. But that's sort of where it lands. As long as I had a normal van, honestly, I just insured it as like a car. I have none of my vans before this, the Chevy van, the minivan. I had them insured just as like my personal vehicle. I didn't even bother with trying to get RV insurance or anything like that. It was easier to insure a normal van. It was easier to go to mechanics with a normal van. Even something as simple as an oil change with a normal van, like you can go almost anywhere. I find even if you have a standing height van, there's some places that'll be iffy about height, but people are less weird about seeing like a ProMaster show up than they are about seeing me show up in the box truck. Never mind that it's really a simple Ford E350 van on the front. So it can just become a thing. And that's sort of the reality of it, I guess. I don't know if that answered the question. That was just me rambling a bit. I'm like, I got way off subject. I mean, the actual building part is going to be as easy or hard as either as much as you know about construction or as much as you're willing to learn. Like, once you figure out where you want your battery bank, it really doesn't matter what you're installing it in. You just figure it out from there based on your design. But like the insurance part and the getting it registered part, even being able to drive it home once you buy it and then wanting to drive it. Now, some people, they just need to get it home. They put it in their driveway and they're not going to move it again until they finish their build. But if you can't do that, like in my situation where I knew I needed to be able to drive it before I could even take it in and get it qualified as a motorhome, then I just had to deal with like the best situation under the circumstances, and I didn't want to drive dirty forever. There might have been a window where I was driving dirty. And then like, I just had to go with whatever would get the thing insured just because. Yeah. No. Where was I? That was a long answer. It's Princess Pamela says, I don't like high rises. Looking over the edge scares me. I'm it's not even that I don't like looking over the edge. I just don't like, because actually I like roofs. I was sad that I never actually got up to the roof because I actually wanted to go stand on the roof. So I like views. I just don't like being on the 15th floor of the cubes that are on top of cubes with cubes squished beside in there. It makes me feel claustrophobic. Um, in a way like the 2-level apartment didn't. Because I like really tall. I love to go to the top of really tall buildings and like look out. I think it's cool. But then I see the view and I leave. It's just more about feeling like trapped on the 15th floor. If something happens, there's 15 floors to get down. They had 2 elevators. One of them was broken, so I always see we're all fighting for this one elevator because it's 15 floors. Like if I lived on like the 3rd or 2nd floor, I just say screw it. I'll just walk up the amount of stairs it is. But it was 15 floors. I tried it once and I said I'm never doing that again. Probably would have been good exercise to do it every day. So it's more that. There's just something claustrophobic about living in those high rises more than anything. And the congestion of it, and like, oh yeah, it's not my vibe. There's so many things I don't like about it. External influences who I miss says, hello Dawn, just popping in to say that my bedtime has passed. Mine kind of has too. And so I have to get there ASAP. Glad things are moving right along for you and your babies. Thanks so much. Um, Sarah says, Ashland is a great little town. I love Ashland. Like, no joke, I love it. Pamela's Princess World says, Ashland is super cute. I spent my first night in my van there. I've asked the between thinking everyone I knew was there and thinking I was getting away with no one knowing I was there. It's like, it's funny, like, because I got to Ashland early last season, and I did until I could get into the housing, I did the street float thing, and it's like you feel like people should notice you because it's such a small, like, slow moving little town. But I found like little places to like park the box truck, and I wasn't bothered all night. Went to bed, got up in the morning, and everything was fine. So yeah, it's weird. And there was a guy who lived in a bus who like I saw all the time. Well, I didn't see him. I saw his bus all the time. I saw him get out of his bus like once. But I saw his bus parked in different spots around Ashland all the time. And I'm like, this dude knows what he's doing. He's not gonna like hook up with like 15 other people doing van life. He's doing the chill, keep my head down, like sort of town living thing. And I totally respected that. And then I mentioned the bus because I'm like, somebody else has to notice this bus. And they were like, oh yeah, I've never paid attention to it. And that just confirmed to me that's what stealth is. It's not about what vehicle you're in. It's about how you handle the vehicle that you're in. Now, mind you, if you get a double-decker huge bus, people gonna notice it. But if you have something that's like not too crazy, and it can be obvious, quote unquote, but not too crazy, and it's just kind of parked in different places all the time, like people aren't really paying that much attention. And that's why I always say stealth is like, thanks a lot, Mickey, just more behavior than the vehicle. Yes, there are certain things you don't want to do. You don't want to write like I love van life on the side, and park it in the middle of the city center. But there's a lot you can get away with that people swear going to ruin yourself that won't, as long as your behavior is correct. But yeah. Sean H says, I'm really enjoying you just talking about anything that comes into your head. Sarah says it was a great answer to my question. Thank you. Deborah says, are you still dieting? I need a diet buddy and just got told I need to lose another 75 pounds for surgery. Oh, wow. I hope you can lose that weight. I have been on and off trying to behave. I am not in as great a state as I was when I was going to the gym every day. And I kind of miss it, to be honest. It's been harder for me to like find a routine that I can stick with, and some of that has been moving around. Some of that has been like not having a lot of control over my schedule. Some of that has been like trying to like get here and settle back down. And some of it is just I fell off and there's no excuse. I am trying to like uh eat healthy right now. I'm not tracking right now. I'm just trying to like not eat junk because I started eating a lot of junk towards the tail end of party people, and it was just accessibility in my schedule. Um, and so I'm trying to get back into the good habits without like tracking them too heavy. So yeah, I'm working on doing better is my answer. I am not on any kind of plan where I'm ready for accountability buddies or anything like that. Like today I actually did food prep for the week. And that's usually always a good starting point for me was to start doing food prep again. So today I actually did prep for the week, um, which is good. Doesn't mean I'm more likely to behave. Uh, while I was driving across the country, I was like, a lot of times I would just give in and buy food near wherever I stopped. I think the last 2 days before I got to California, I had Taco Bell because it was there and it was only gonna cost me like $10. Um, so yeah, that's my answer. Is I'm still trying, but I'm not doing great right now. Mickey, what are you doing? What are you doing? Knocking stuff down right now. Okay, he's fine. Um, what am I doing? Anne says, Dawn, did you say that Oregon Theater couldn't get its funding? That is sad, but this is why I love your chat. You go from kitty kibbles to box truck mechanics. That's daily van life. Oh man. Sorry guys. I knocked the phone down again. Um, so Oregon Shakespeare Festival. Uh, they're open right now. Um, I will know by the middle of May if the end of the season is gonna happen, basically. Um, and that will affect a job that I have at the end of the season. Right now, it's still possible they will make their fundraising goal. They've raised a decent amount of money. Hey, feel it. Here you go. Look at it. I love that cat. They're just getting into stuff right now. Oh, what was I saying? Uh, I'm not gonna lie. You know, right now I'm smiling through it, but it would really hurt if that job ends up not existing. Now I'll deal with it and I'll find something else. But right now it's more like the season would have to be shortened. Uh and they would have to figure out how to have a smaller season next season. So that's where they are right now. Hopefully they make their goals. And I'll still get to go back to Ashland at the end of the season. I miss Ashland. I was looking forward to seeing people in Ashland. It would be very, very sad to me um, if I don't get to go back. Um, it would also be sad for me to know that people lost their jobs early. But theater's been in a bit of a mess since COVID. I mean, it's literally a profession that requires human beings to show up live to a place and do something. And that's the audience, that's the actors on stage, that's the people backstage, and we're all breathing on top of each other. So the worst thing that could have happened was something that was passed through literal breathing. Um, God dang it, Cat, what are you doing? He's going back to the cab. Um, so yeah, I mean, all I can do at this point is sit and wait. It isn't that they don't have the funding. I don't know. The last time they gave us an update, they were a little more than halfway there. Um, so hopefully, like, especially with that new situation where they're doubling any donations, hopefully there's hope. But I can't know at this point. All I can do is wait and see how things turn out. I hope it turns out for the best. If not, I have to figure out what else I can do for work, and hope everybody else can like sort out what to do with their contracts ending early. Um, yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. But right now the fundraiser is still going on, so it's not dead in the water yet. It's just an unknown for the future, and that's part of being in a career where it's contract to contract, because anything could happen up to the day that you start work, and even then after you start work, things could not go the full contract. And I at least feel blessed that I started this year not having the two jobs that I just finished. Literally, those opportunities came up back to back. Um, so I'm lying. I had the St. Louis job at the end of the year, but I did not have the party people job. Because of the St. Louis job, I got the party people job. Because of the St. Louis job, I have the Hamlet job that I have now. And so I just have to hope like that keeps pushing itself forward, and the opportunities continue to come. The one bad good thing about sort of the post-COVID world is a lot of people left theater during COVID just because of the insecurity of work going on into the future. And so there are less people doing the job now than were before COVID. Like I said, it's a good bad thing because, people getting sick and having to be hospitalized and people having permanent like respiratory issues, obviously not a good thing. But hopefully there are enough opportunities that as I move on to the future, there's people looking, and I just got to put my resume out there and see what bites. Even though ultimately I would love to, if it doesn't happen this season, go back to OSF next season. So hopefully, worst comes to worst, that's what happens. But yeah. I'm not as sick as I was, guys. I swear there was a point where I was driving back to California where I thought I was just gonna have to like find some place to park for like 2 days because my throat was tearing up and I was like, ugh, I was like hacking up cold. It was gross. Right now, I just have the tail end of a runny nose. Um, that was me running my mouth. Craig Browning says Berkeley's probably better for Priuses and Volvos. Yes. Oh my gosh, I hate when I go to the Trader Joe's in Berkeley because that parking lot is so tiny. I didn't even like driving my minivan up in there. Like that parking lot was built for like mini cars. Um, Shiny Nickel Blade says 15 floors. F that. Exactly. I did not like being on even with the elevator. I didn't like being on the 15th floor. Also, that building was a hot box. Like the apartment was fine, and they had like a little air conditioning unit in there. But if it was hot outside, like I don't know who designed that building, but it was terrible. Like you got into the like, I would say being in the elevator of that building on a hot day was worse than being in here on a hot day. Like it was like so much of a hot box. Like whatever was going on outside with weather, that building just held. That building sucked so bad. And says keep putting the link up. Okay, I've already donated and totally get it. My son told us an executive director. Oh, my son is an executive director of a community theater in Colorado. Oh, that's so awesome. Kit Kat Hill says, "Was theater your first choice in a career?" As an adult, yes, sort of. As a child, no. I mean, like, the first thing I ever wanted to be was a vet, but that's because I was obsessed with animals. And so I thought the coolest job ever would be, like, working with animals. And then I found out what vets actually did, and I kind of lost interest in it. Because in my head, as a small child, I've talked about this on the live before, I was just like, ooh, I get to play with doggies all day. That's not what vets do. And also, like, it's actually harder to become a vet, or at least there's less schools for veterinary than there are for like being a human medical doctor. And there's a reason for that, which I realized is number one, there's different forms of veterinary care you can go into, and vets aren't just dogs and cats. They're literally every animal on the planet. So if you're going to take care of humans, the only thing you have, and I was not a science kid, I'm a little bit more nerdy about science in that I like the theory of it, but I'm not the person who wants to like be responsible for like cutting something open and surgery and all that. But if you think about it, like if you're taking care of humans, all you have to learn is human. If you're a vet, you take care of animals. There are a whole bunch of animals out there, and there are different things that go on with their respiratory systems and sort of different kind of health care needs. Like if you're the kind of vet that takes care of farm animals, like if you're just a city vet, you're probably not going to see anything besides cats and dogs. But if you're like a vet who takes care of like cows and geese and chickens, and like that's a lot of different like medical knowledge to know. And I didn't think about that. So I found it fascinating, but also knew I didn't want to be a vet because I was like, that's too much. I just want to play with animals. But I did write stories ever since I was young. I think there was a part of me that was always going to end up in the arts. I was always fascinated by how things worked backstage, how things were made, how things were done, how you like all of that stuff I was fascinated in. So it wasn't like I was like 9 and I was like I want to work in theater. But like I went to college and I was basically between a film and a theater major and got really involved more with the theater department for a bunch of reasons that would be long storytelling that I'm not getting into. And so that's how I and then I learned what a stage manager was because I had no clue. And what I found out from a lot of other stage managers is that's a common thing. If you've never worked in theater, you've never heard of a stage manager. You don't understand what their job is, what they do, what that skill set is. And so I've met so many other people who were like, yeah, I didn't know what it was either until somebody asked me to do it and then showed me. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool, I can do that. So yeah, that's my long, complicated answer to that question. All right. So it's been almost 80 minutes now, which is longer than I planned on being online. So I'm gonna get off of the internet now. Wait a second. We're gonna get our friend. Come here. So Mickey, say bye to everybody. Say bye. Say good night. Say good night. There we go. Bye everybody. Have a good night. Thank you to everybody who showed up. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up if you want. He's like, let me go. I don't know where his brother is. He must be up front.